Welcome back. I am really, really excited to share today's interview with you guys. Yasmeen is, she's a gem. She is an author. She also runs in the marketing world as well. So you'll hear some of that come out, I'm sure, as you hear her talk about her book. But Yasmeen, why don't you give us just a little bit of background about your writing and just how you're showing up in the world?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Valerie. So my writing is really just inspired by all of the stories that I grew up and loved that I found were actually somewhat few and far between. I gravitated to a lot of the more unique styles of writing, the ones that were off the beaten path. I was not big on any of the like big name books. It was usually some of the more in the cut type stuff. I grew up with a mother who was always reading to us and always looking for the quirky and different kind of stories. And I also grew up as a history nut, so all of that kind of just bled together of I would love to write my own stories that what would be the story that I want to read. And one of the cool things about being a writer is you get to do that. You get to write the story that you would have wanted to read instead of waiting and hoping that somebody else will write it and you can read it. I also grew up with a brother who's also a story nut, but he's more on the film side. And so we would just sit down for hours and like in the middle of the night when we were in high school, just chatting away, coming up with all kinds of different story ideas, helping each other out to figure out what those stories were. So I view it as it was a matter of time before I actually started writing my own books. And so I started when I was 12, actually, wrote my first book at age 12. We don't talk about that one. That was a practice run. And then it just kind of blossomed from there, where every year I wrote another book. My writing got better and better. And then by the time I was in college, I had written the first book that I thought, okay, I think this one I can publish. I think it's ready. And then that one I had actually passed around and gotten some feedback on. And I got some really helpful feedback from one of my school professors who was like, I love this book, but may I make a suggestion? Change your main character. That was just like a mind-blowing concept to me. That it never once occurred to me that your POV matters. who you're telling the story from, it may not be what you wanted, but it's what's best for the story.
Yeah.
And that was like a game changer for me. So after that, it took me like some 10 years to finish writing that, like what ended up being the first book that I ever published, which is called The Crimson Run. And I had already been building a marketing background over those 10 years. Like I jumped pretty quickly into SEO and paid search and just all of that kind of marketing stuff. And so by the time I published my book, I was in like a financial position to support it. I had the marketing acumen to support it. So it's one of those things where I'm really grateful that it actually didn't happen sooner. I don't think it would have launched off nearly as strong or as well as it
Yeah.
did if I didn't have that time to hone my writing, hone my marketing abilities, make some really great connections in the writing industry, meet some really great writing friends who were able to give me some feedback, desperately needed feedback, as we all need. So yeah, that kind of just kicked things off, and everything from there has been just snowball effect. It's like just building step by step, not really thinking too much about the future, just doing what's in front of me right now. What do I need to do right now?
Yeah.
Which might be contrary to a lot of marketing advice I would actually give, but it's worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what's one of the things that in your book process, whether it's the publishing side or the launch side and the promotion side, what's one thing that you're like, this worked really, really well, and I'm really glad I did this?
Mm. Definitely top of my list would be writing conferences. Um, I didn't know about them before I got published, but as soon as I got published and started looking for ways to push my book out there, I found out about these conferences, and I spent an entire year just traveling all across the US going to these different conferences. And the very first one that I went to was Pikes Peak Conference in Colorado, and
Mhm.
another game changer where I learned so much about things that I just didn't even know to look up. And it was almost a bit of a bummer because I really wish I had gone before I published. They teach you everything from just different writing techniques, different marketing techniques. You get to meet agents and editors, authors who are at all different phases of their lives, and so that was something that it's never too late to go. I would encourage everyone to go as soon as they can. Pick one that's in your local town and just go. It is so needed to meet people that can relate to you, that understand where you're at, you understand where they're at, and you can talk to them on that level. And that would be another thing that I would add is super game changer is all the people I've met along the way.
Mm.
Whether that be the fans, the people who have read my book and responded, like made a point of emailing me to tell me how much they enjoyed it or how much it meant to them. Like it just means so much, you put so much work into it and you find out that it's resonating with people. And then your fellow writers, regardless of where they're at in their writing journey or where you're at in your writing journey,
Mhm.
us having each other's backs and just being able to talk to each other about the pros and cons, the wins
Mhm.
and the failures and the learns and everything along the way, that is just so invaluable to the entire process. So we all have a tendency to think, marketing, let's jump into how am I going to get my book out there? And I think a lot of writers are, introverts by nature, where writing is typically a solo sport, if you will. And so we forget that part. Like, no, you gotta go meet your peeps. You need your
Mhm.
community. And I can't stress that enough of just how valuable that has been to me.
Mm. Yeah, you need your people for
You
sure.
need your
I
people.
mean,
Yeah.
I see that day in and day out with like launch strategy that I'm doing with people, and the authors that lean into that, they do great. And the authors that
Hmm.
tend to resist or say like, well, can't you just do that for me? Some of the people that want to be a little bit more hands off, whether it's just they're introverted or,
Or it's just
feel
not
like
their thing.
it's not
I
their
think for a lot of
thing.
people, it's not their thing.
Yeah. Or I see a lot where there's just ego getting in the way of like, well, can't you do that part? I'm like, sure, I could, but they don't know me. They know you. You have the relationship with them. And there is this like important dynamic that happens. But
Mm-hmm.
gosh, the folks that lean into it, I mean, a book launch is such a great opportunity to connect with your network.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
if you view it from that lens, like it just becomes that much more magical. If you view it as like a
Mhm.
chore,
Yeah.
this is just another thing I got to check off the list. It's not that you're not
Yeah.
maximizing it or making
It's a
use of
missed
it, you're not
opportunity.
maximizing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a missed
Yeah.
opportunity. And I think a lot of people, when they think book launch, definitely a lot of my fellow writers that I've talked to, they think of a book launch as the book launch event. It's a
Mhm.
one-time thing. It's the
Right.
one day, the date that the book came out. Not, not so. My entire first year was my book launch.
Yeah.
Like it was everything from how, like, what bookstores can I get in touch with to try to do book signing events with. What book events can I do outside of, like, I was looking for anywhere that I could
Mhm.
possibly go and connect with my audience in person. And
Yeah.
I'm an uber extrovert, so to me, I'm like, I'm just making new friends everywhere I go,
Right.
which kind of works out great for me. And then it's true of, like, I'm still in touch with most of the people that I've met at my book signings and my all the different events that I've done. So the book launch event itself was, to my mind, a Kickstarter. It
Yeah.
was it was the launch of the launch, if you will,
Yep.
the launch of the launch strategy. But I think there's a lot of apprehension from writers that somehow, fortunately, thank God, I really didn't have. I was just excited about all of it,
Yeah.
and that kind of bums me out when I hear writers being so nervous or concerned, like they don't know what to say, they don't know how to meet their readers in person. They have the imposter syndrome, unfortunate situation where they just don't even feel like, why would anybody want this? Why would anybody buy this? And one of the things that I say a lot when I'm teaching about marketing is, like, if you're bothering to write your book, it's because somebody out there needs to read it.
Mhm.
Don't hold back. Like, you're not doing us a favor. You're doing us
Right.
a disservice by not getting your
And not
book out
sharing
there.
about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like if you cared enough to write a book about it, you should care enough for people to wanna
Yes.
read it, right? Like, if
Someone
it's
wants
gonna
it. Someone
yeah,
needs this. Yeah.
someone needs it. Yeah. So, I know just from hearing and, we've chatted at conferences and things like that, like, you have done some pretty, like, you found some creative places to go, and, like, just, there's a lot that you've done to kind of get yourself into places that people might not normally think about in terms of launching their book. What are some of those places that you've gone to promote your book where, I mean, I remember you telling me like, gosh, I was the only author there. It was amazing, you know?
Yeah, that was eye-opening for sure. But yeah, I've had a ton of success. Well, for one, I'm an action adventure author.
Hmm.
So whenever you're marketing your work, you're not like, I'm not marketing a book. I'm marketing an experience. Like, what is the
Hmm.
experience that people are going to have when they read my book? That is very difficult to convey if you're just posting on social media. If you're just doing the regular, I want to say run of the mill, because they're still good and necessary and helpful. But like the what's expected of a book event, of a book
Hmm.
signing, where it's literally just you behind a table. You've got your books, people come, they buy it, you sign it, and we move on. Nobody, yes, they bought it, but are they going to read it? Did
Hmm.
you get did you get it planted in their head that you want this to be at the top of your TBR list? And so that was kind of the difference of the way that I was thinking about it that got me to say, well, where and how can I get that experience through to my readers so that they're not just supporting a local author, but they're excited to read this and they're excited for the sequel and they want to sign up for my newsletter and they want to stay in touch and we want to be best friends, you know?
Yeah.
So that whole thought process got me to not it started off with just shifting the way that I handled my book signing events. So every time I would connect with a bookstore and pitch them my idea and go through the whole process of getting that set up, I would send them pictures of my setup. I got a retractable banner that, like,
Hmm.
my book is steampunk, so it's the banner conveys that. Landed my pitch, landed my comp, which by themselves are selling the book. My author bio is comedic because I write comedy,
Uh-huh.
so like just put all of that on the banner itself, did the whole setup to where you could see it's steampunk, it's actiony. I had additional swag on there, like anything to draw the eye so that people knew that this is exciting. There's an adventure here. If you read this, you're
Hmm.
going to have an adventure. And that ended up doing really well at the bookstores and book signing events. It was just a magnet for people coming over. Even if they didn't read, they wanted to come and see what this was about. So
Hmm.
then that made me think, well, where else can I do this? Like, but bookstores are only so many in any given city. And so that opened up, okay, how about comic book stores? Like, my target audience is a lot of fantasy readers and gamers. And so I was like, how about I go to a comic book store? They were super open. They don't often do book events. I sold out at I've done several at comic book stores now, and they've sold out every time. Uh, and then after that, it became vendor events of like, why not? I'm a local artist. I'm selling a book that I wrote. Like, it's my work, it's my
Yeah.
creation. So why not? Let me just try some local art shows. And so the first one that I did was kind of just an application of let's go for broke. What are they going to say? No, that's fine. At least I
Yeah.
applied. To my surprise, not only did they all accept me, but were excited. Oh, like, we've never had an author before. This will be really cool. Oh, I love your setup. Yeah, let's bring you in. And so then that started to be like the Austin Celtic Festival. There's a steampunk festival in Dallas that I did this year as well, or last year. I guess it's last year now. Some local pop-up vendor events as well that I did. So like anywhere that I could possibly go where it's foot traffic, people come
Yeah.
and buy, they'll come and talk to you. And yeah, at most of them, I am the only author, or I'm like one of two, and the other's a children's book author. So we're not even competing.
Right.
And readers can smell a book a mile away. And they like don't even care. They're just so excited to see an author, to meet an author, to have that experience of buying a book in person when they weren't even expecting it to be there. They're so excited to get a signed copy, to ask me questions. A lot of them, again, sign up for my newsletter. A lot of them I'm still friends with. Like, I'll find out they're fellow writers and we'll connect as writers as well. So I've found that that's not something that a lot of people have even considered doing, let alone have tried. And it's not for everybody. It is a grueling day. Celtic
Sure.
Festival is a 3-day event. Like, sun up to sundown, we're just out there selling. And you do a lot of talking to people. And once again, I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's been so effective and so rewarding. And it's gotten me on people's radars in a way that, like, if they bought it from Amazon, they don't know me.
Right.
Again, it puts it at the bottom of the TBR list. It's not as exciting as when, no, I met this person and we hit it off and we're friends now, and it's just a very different experience. And for me personally, I wanted that. I didn't want it to just be, yeah, I'm an author, go buy my book, and then I'm going to leave now.
Right.
It's like, no, I want to. to chat with you. I want us to be friends as well. And this has just been such a great way of doing that.
Yeah. Well, what you're talking about is really just like a complete mindset shift
Hmm.
compared to many authors who they think of it as more of that transaction. They're not thinking
Hmm.
of it as
A relationship.
ongoing, yeah,
Yeah.
relationship. Well, and I know just you're a writer. You're not just, you wrote a book, you are a writer. Like you will have other books come
Hmm.
out. What you are building right now is a fan base that helps you sell the next book and the next book and the next book. Or maybe it's your own special experience or something bigger than a book, that you are inviting people into. Um, who knows? But
Yeah.
one of the things that you've mentioned now a couple of times is just getting people to sign up for your newsletter. And that's
Hmm.
like a very subtle thing, but it's one thing that a lot of authors don't even think about. They
Hmm.
kind of forget about that piece. And you can be building your email list well before the book is written, right?
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and even if you haven't yet and your book's out or it's about to come out, like build it now. Like it's not, it's don't think like, oh, it's too late to start this.
Where it's too early. No.
It's too early. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you're thinking you have another book in you or a
Hmm.
few other books in you in your lifetime. Like build the list now. It will help you in the future. And
Hmm.
again, yeah, your interaction real time with people it's sticky. They're going to
Hmm.
remember that they met you. And also knowing like, hey, this goes to support a real person. This isn't just some like, I remember my niece just got into Babysitter Club books. They were like all the rage back in the day. And now apparently they're having a resurgence. But
Okay.
I remember Anne M. Martin wrote all of those books. I read so many of those as a kid. I had no idea who she was. There
Hmm.
were never photos of her in the back of the book. Like it wasn't about her. I just remember seeing the little scholastic red apple on the spine and wanting to collect all of the ones or read all of the ones in the series. Um, but now, thanks to social media and email, like we have these
Hmm.
resources that were not there when I was a second grader back
Yeah.
in the day. And
Yeah.
so we have this ability to build a network, to build relationships with our readers that was a lot more difficult to do in the past. And so I love that you've got that perspective. So,
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get overwhelmed by all the different options nowadays. I don't think
yeah.
authors really had to even think about it before because you couldn't publish by yourself. I'm hybrid published myself, and so I feel like I got a lot of the best of both worlds from my experience. But for just given the amount of people now that are self-publishing, and it's just skyrocketing from what I understand, to
Mhm.
more and more people going that route. And that's not to you know um, diminish the efforts and works of the big publishers. It's just that it's a business. It's a
Mhm.
business for all of us, and they're gonna prioritize the books they think they can sell. And so if you're a debut author and you're not tried and true yet, and you don't have a platform, that's what they're looking at. So for those of us that are still kind of the little guys, we're just building ourselves up, or we're going the self-publishing route. It's all you. Everything you do is all on you. And so building up that platform organically from just utilizing all these tools that we have, we just never would have been able to do that before. And now that we can, it's completely changed the landscape on how we can approach publishing a book, let alone marketing our book and getting it out there. And I think there's an element that's like I enjoy it myself, but I know a lot of writers don't. Is that you are now a personal brand. You're not
Mhm.
just an author. You're a brand,
Yeah.
and you're not just talking about writing. Oftentimes, you're talking about yourself, or you're talking about your environment, especially if you're nonfiction. Like that's a huge opening there for like your people are going to want to hear from you of
Yeah.
what inspired this, how did you get through what you went through, or there's a lot of extra things now that you can do, a lot of different income streams that you can pursue. And yeah, I just see so many writers zeroed in on writing, and like I can't even necessarily view that as a bad thing because I understand like this is your craft, the craft is writing, and we're just called to be jacks of all trades now. And that's time. I spend so much time not writing, time spent
Mhm.
marketing, time spent in person, time spent meeting people. And so I get it. Like it's a hard balance to
Mhm.
to figure out of your writing time versus your marketing time when you're just having to do all of this on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a balance. And I think that's why, like, I mean, I know you're active on social media, and a lot of authors are asking those same questions, playing the same games of like, where do I
Mhm.
focus my energy? But email tends to be
Mhm.
the common through line.
Mhm.
I remember, gosh, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I mean, it keeps coming up of like, is email going to die?
Right?
And I
And
think
it just
we can
doesn't.
definitively say it is not going anywhere, because you look at all of these profiles of just like, they all want to verify and have an email address to send things to. So
Mhm.
your logins are associated with your email address. All of these things that channel is not really going anywhere. Now, how much people are
Mhm.
paying attention to, there's obviously trends and things you
Sure.
can do to get people to open your emails more. There's a whole strategy around that. But if you're just feeling overwhelmed, it's like, well, just start with the spaces that you have the most control and ownership over, that feel the most stable. And to
Mhm.
me, that's your website and email.
I
You are
agree.
not dealing with algorithms and Facebook's rules and
Mhm.
TikTok's new policies. Like, it's not rented space. You own your email
Mhm.
list, and you can decide how often and when and what you're putting in there. It's yours, right?
Mhm.
So I love that you're speaking to that. What Obviously a lot you've been very pleased with and has gone well, but are there any things that you're like, gosh, if could do this over, I would go do this? Like, what's something
Mhm.
that you're like, it was okay, or maybe it didn't go well. Here's what I would do
Mhm.
better.
Yeah, for sure. Like, where do I start? This is all a learning curve, right? Like, one of the things that I love to hear about authors who've like made it, where they're so much further down the line, is they all have these stories of when they started off not knowing what the heck we were doing. And so it's not a death sentence if you didn't do the thing that you kind of wish that you did. It's all just you're learning as you go. So one thing I know I mentioned it earlier, so I'll just briefly touch upon it, was I wish I'd known about writing conferences beforehand.
Mm,
That was a game changer for me on just the networking and the people that I met and all of the things to learn that I didn't know I needed to learn. Um, I wish I had gone before, and then like I did a lot of homework ahead of time on all my different publishing options, and I still was learning new things when I actually met these people in person, when I was able
right.
to talk to them and ask direct questions. So that would definitely be one. The second is I I was thinking marketing before publishing, but the publishing process was taking up so much of my time, and I'm still working, full time in marketing as well. So timing wise, I'm just like, okay, first things first, let's get the book out. And so once I have the book out, then I can start doing X, Y, Z. There are a lot of things on my list that I wish I had done prior to being
Yeah.
published to prepare for the actual publishing date. All I really prepared for ahead of time was my social media was trucking, and maybe about 6 months to a year ahead of time, and I had prepared my book launch, like my launch party. But I did not start a mailing list prior to launching my.
Mm,
I had it for because I'm also a composer, so I had a mailing list for my music side, but I hadn't started one yet for my author side of
right.
my personal brand. So I wish I had done that. And there are a lot of things that you can submit your book to, whether that be book events, book festivals. Often
Mm,
require you to have submitted like a year in advance, and your book had to be written within the year that that book festival is taking place. So I book awards is another one. Your book has to have come out within the year of that book award.
yes.
So I started applying for book festivals and book awards and things like that, maybe about 6 months in, like 4 to 6 months in. So I got in on quite a few of them, but there were a lot that I missed out on because the timing didn't line up.
Yeah.
So I wish that I had known that ahead of time, that there were some time constraints on some of the things that I could submit to. That being said, it all things considered, it still went pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think those are the kind of the big pieces that I think I would have launched off even stronger. I know you and I have also chatted about a street team. When
Mm,
I before publishing, I didn't know any writers. I knew nobody in the industry. I was completely alone in pursuing it. It wasn't until after I got published, like now I've got a great network. But before I didn't, and I wish that I did. And I don't know that there's necessarily anything I could have done differently because I talk to everybody, like, but so even now I look back and I'm like, could I? Is there anything else I could have done? And it was just kind of one of those, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know about any of the local writing clubs. I wasn't able to find anybody. I didn't know anybody who knew anybody. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice.
Well, and I think there's some freedom in knowing that there's always going to be things that you could have done more of, right? I mean, in our current world, there's people out there that have these huge teams that look like they're doing all the things, but the reality is they have a 10, 30, 100-person team behind them
Yeah.
making that happen. But even though you didn't do all the things, you still had what you felt like was a successful launch. Like it was a success by your standards, and you were set up for success for that first kind of launch year. Um, I think that's an important thing because it's so hard to like not get paralyzed by all of
Yeah.
the things that you could be doing, and so that's why like having a plan, it's important. You can always add or detract from the plan, but that's also like the plan helps you know, okay, I feel good about what I'm doing and what I'm capable of getting done in this time frame. And it's the marketing piece tends to be like the missing big black hole in public,
Yeah.
which is why, I discovered that when I launched my book. I mean, that's how I got into working with so many authors is I was going through this for my own book and realizing, gosh, there's there's nothing for authors to think about like the launch process and marketing. And people are just focused on like, oh, you could sell books with these, in my opinion, kind of spammy groups you pay to be part of, and they
Yeah.
buy you reviews or whatever. Like, it's like, no, I want something authentic. I want something that's going to build something for me. There wasn't a lot of that being talked about. And I think even still, like, it's becoming more of a thing that people realize they have a personal brand. But in a lot of ways, people, they just see it as like, oh, I've written my book, it's done. And it's like the field of dreams. I've built it, they will come. In today's world, sometimes you'll come across people that stumble across your book and take a gamble at it. But more times than not, you need to help push them there and make sure that your book looks the best it can so people will take a shot at it. They've never heard of you as an author and they get across an Amazon link. It's like, oh, a lot of times they are really judging the book by its cover and the reviews and, your
They
summary.
don't have anything else to go by.
They have nothing else
That's
to
all
go
they
by.
have.
Yeah. So, really get intentional. What are you putting out there to people? That first impression really does matter. And that's where things like the street team and all the legwork that you're doing, it makes a big difference, and all of that is going to help a second book. You go to write your second book, they can see that, oh, Yasmeen wrote this other book. Let me go check it out. And it's got all these great reviews, has this nice, beautiful cover. It's polished. It looks the part. They're going to take a shot on your second book. It's just all of these things build on each other.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because that was actually a good point about mailing lists too. Is when I've coached people through building a mailing list, they're like, how do I get it past just my mom being the one subscriber that I have? And I got to encourage them, like, mailing lists take time. They take time to build. You're not going to make money off of it or really even have many opens or many people on it for probably like the first year or two. Books 3, 4, 5, that's where the revenue is going to be. This is going to be your highest generating revenue stream, is going to be your mailing list, because these are the people, nobody gives or keeps their email like subscription if they don't want it.
Right.
They will unsubscribe if they don't want to be there. So it's a very dedicated audience. These people want to hear from you.
Yeah.
I know one of the things my favorite author is Brandon Sanderson, and like I'll be just scrolling through my emails like delete. Ooh, Brandon Sanderson, click. What's the latest book? Take my money. I want to know. I want to know what he's working on. I'm excited about it. And flipping that script and saying, I'm going to have fans who are going to feel that way about my work, where they can't wait to open my email to find out what the next book is. Like, it's a sobering thought.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
realization. But it's time. Marketing is time. It takes time to build your following. So I think people also, they get discouraged too quickly. And it's like, guys, there's, for every overnight success is like 10 years of hard work. There isn't, the concept of an overnight success is actually quite rare.
Hmm.
It's usually just that you've been marketing, and your trend chart looks like this, and then just randomly one day it does that. Like that's typically what I see for marketing campaigns, and your newsletter is no different. So it's like, be patient right now when you're on your first and second book, because books 4, 5, 6 down the line, that's where you're going to really start to see all of this traction that you've built. The slog of trying to get more social followers, the slog of trying to get more mailing list subscriptions, more sales. It's like we tend to look at the big names and
Hmm.
be like, well, that person made all this money and they're like a best-selling author. And
Yeah,
like, no, the vast majority, like 80% of us authors, that's not our experience.
right.
That's like, look at all the actors out there in the world. There's one Tom Cruise. Everybody else is like, you're just average actor making average amount of money. Nobody recognizes them on the street. It's a job,
Hmm.
you know? So I feel like a lot of authors, they don't have that understanding of how the vast majority of writing and authorship works. They're only looking at the big name authors, the best-selling authors in Barnes and Noble, not realizing the massive playing field that most of us are actually on is a very different game.
Yeah. Well, and I think also just comparing like that person's, maybe they're 20 years in,
Yeah.
or first year in, I mean, it's not always apples to apples of what we're comparing. Social media
Yeah.
and just the media in general make it very easy for us to compare ourselves to people who are further
Yeah.
along in the process. And then that just tends to discourage you.
Yeah. You
Over
think they're somehow doing something different or doing something better. And it's like, no, they're just been doing it longer.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe they got lucky, or, maybe they did XYZ and whatever, but like they are not at the same point you are. If you are just starting
Yeah.
off, that is a very different spot than
Yeah.
the Tom Cruises of the world, or, whoever your favorite best-selling New York Times author is. Like it's just a different space. But
Yeah.
but yeah, and I think to that end, just this concept of building relationships with your readers, I mean, that just little perspective shift changes the entire game. It becomes less about the book, becomes
Mhm.
less about the sales. It becomes more around the community that you're building around this. And I think every author has the potential to do that,
Yeah.
from a memoir to,
Yeah.
for you with fiction, like, to even somebody that's got a book about sales. I mean, arguably, I think the nonfiction space has a huge opportunity to build a community
Yeah.
you're writing. And a lot of people kind of, if they haven't been thinking in that way, it's a new concept for them. But it is one that I think is incredibly
Mhm.
powerful, and is one that can really help you. The marketing then becomes a little bit easier,
Yeah.
when you think about it from a community building standpoint versus I just need to sell this book,
Mhm.
So I love that
Yeah.
you
Love
pointed
that.
that out. Well, what's next? Are you working on another book? Like what's going on in your world?
Yeah. So I just finished the first draft of the sequel to
Nice.
The Crimson Run, to my debut novel. So that's the one that I'm really pushing to try to get out, hopefully for a early 2027 launch. If I play my cards right, we'll see how it goes. I'm also just about done with the first draft of a separate book that is hopefully going to be a series, but each book will be standalone. So that one also, ideally, would love for that one to come out maybe like end of next year if I also play those cards right. We'll see, because that's another piece of the marketing strategy, is like, how frequently do you want things to come out? And I'm still just building steam here, so we'll see. But yeah, potentially 2 books coming out, and then I've got like 5 other projects that I'm doing my best not to work on, so that I can finish these ones that I have on my plate.
I love it.
I've definitely slowed down on doing a lot of like my national book tour. I traveled a lot that first year to different states and like promoting that first book, and then now I'm kind of back. This year I'm back into writing zone, production zone. I slowed down on social media, slowed down on some of the marketing pieces just to get another for lack of a better way to put it, product out.
Yeah.
But also, that's the fun part. That's the part that we all enjoy, is the actual writing. So yeah, this year, doing my best to stay focused on those two things, and also audiobook will be coming out for the Crimson Run, hopefully by the end of this year too, which I am planning to do on my own, because again, I'm a composer. So I was like, I could do this. I could do like all the home recording. I can do even a soundtrack for the
That's so
audiobook,
cool.
make it a little cinematic. Yeah, I have like all the sound effects. It could be really cool, and I thought that'd be fun to do. And from what I can tell, and for me personally as well, I like it when the author is the one who reads the book
Okay.
aloud. Like, it's just an extra way for me to connect with the author. So finding that that's a common thing, that a lot of people prefer that as well, rather than getting like a voice actor or something.
Right.
Um, so yeah, those are the kind of I'm doing my best to stay like, this is my lane for this year. This is my focus. Trying not to spread myself too thin. As we said, there's just so many things you could do, but is that actually going to be beneficial? And I'm officially, as of March, going to be 2 years in of my debut novel. So that's 2 years of a lot of learning,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of finding out what worked and what didn't,
Yeah.
and where do I really want to focus my efforts. I know that I've found that those like 3-day festivals, if you can get in at Renaissance fairs, like if you're a fantasy writer, oh my gosh, get in there. um, I will sell out easily, like from just those like 2 or 3 day uh, festivals. Yeah. So I've like, okay, well, that seems to be a whole lot more worth. Like, that's worth a drive. That's worth a flight. I'll just
Yeah.
focus in on that instead of doing some of the smaller ones. So yeah, kind of just rethinking and reassessing all the millions of things that I did in these last couple of years to determine where do I stand and where do I want to go from here.
Nice. Nice. Well, if people want to check out your book, get on your newsletter list, learn more about what you're working on, what is the best place to point people to?
Yeah, appreciate that. My website is yasmeensalama.com. Just my first and last name.com. Has all the links and everything to there. I can also send them all your way. And then social media and newsletter are really the two primary places that I am keeping updated. And it is both for my music and writing, just kind of putting them both together. I am on Spotify, Apple Music will be there once the audiobook comes out as well. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks, Yasmeen, for sharing so much today, just about your
Thank you so much for
experience
having
and
me.
the process and just what you've learned along the way.